We Need Answers podcast, the weed episode today. We're going to be discussing a connoisseur, CEO of Charm City Organics Company, my guy Carl. Every episode, I introduce how I know my guest, Carl. It's my cousin. We share the same cousin from different side of the family. I say that a lot because I got a very big family. So a lot of episodes have been shared cousins. But Carl, my cousin of a cousin, we locked in a long time ago and been brothers ever since. It's my dog. So Carl, fresh out of Baltimore, transplant of Atlanta, back up to DC, and throughout his time, he got into different things in college. And Morehouse College graduate in Atlanta. So down in Atlanta, got it. That's probably where you jumped off of the weed, right?
Yeah.
Strictly introduced to weed and been there ever since. So talk about how, because I know even when I'm out with you, when people will see later on that you smoke, they always like, I ain't never think you would smoke shit like that. So tell us how you got into smoking from the jump.
Smoking, I mean, honestly.
Or weed, period, however.
Just being in school, socially, I guess, dealing with people who smoked. For a long time, I didn't smoke, right? It really wasn't until my junior year of college that I started smoking. And at the time, one of my guys who I'm still really close with was a few years older than me. Two other guys who I kind of hung out with a lot. And the four of us would literally be together every single day smoking weed, right? Starting in like junior year. Just one day we decided to smoke weed. Beyond just like, I think, building bonds with people, it was just, I realized how much I enjoyed it, right? It was really an outlet for me, especially if it was some good weed. A woman had a lot to do with it too, right? Dating somebody who smoked when I didn't smoke, and being around it all the time certainly like ultimately played a part.
She put you down
in me trying it. But for me, it was just an opportunity at the time to be around people, build bonds, and shit. I liked it, right? Like that's the simple part of it. Like I enjoyed it. Didn't realize how much I would enjoy it. In hindsight, I'm happy that I guess I started smoking when I did. I think had I started smoking in high school,
it would have been worse.
Earlier, not to say it would have been worse, but you know, it's still a drug. It's a vice. It's something you have to spend money on.
True.
Preoccupies your time. That makes you feel
we had money like
right?
that in high school, like as a college adult.
And at a certain maturity level, I feel like cool. That's when I was supposed to start doing it. Right.
Yeah.
It works different for everybody, but it just kind of started back in college. Just being in an atmosphere where there wasn't as much stigma associated with smoking weed. You know, everybody's in school, everyone's quote unquote successful, doing what they're supposed to do. Right. So doing it really didn't have the stigma that it had if I was back home. Right.
Look at it as a knucklehead smoking. I got you. So me myself, I got into it late too, off of the same thing. It was a girl. I remember the 2 times I actually smoked was with a girl, and that's what got me into it. And the effects and what happened afterwards is why I locked in. And I was like, okay, it's a go. It's definitely a go now. And I locked in, but I ain't smoking high school either coming up, but I always thought, that's one thing, I hate to say it, a cliche corny line, but that's one thing I always thought looked cool for real. Like when niggas, like rappers and shit and the music and all that, I always thought weed smoking looked cool or whatever. So that was one thing. But anyway, so getting into it in college, what made you go to, which was a smart idea, to go the business route. And when I say the business route, anybody and everybody probably even sold some kind of way at some point in their life, but instead of going, did you go that route first? Getting it and selling it like streetwise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Naturally, without saying any names, it was honestly by opportunity. And before I ever even thought I would grow weed, like selling weed, like I could talk about it now clearly much differently than anybody ever could then, right? Because it doesn't have the same like stigma that it always used to have.
Yeah.
But the long and short of it was, at the time in Atlanta, I got to meet a guy who actually grew weed on a farm in North Georgia.
Okay.
Right? Clearly what he was doing was illegal.
Yeah.
Right? But you look at the industry.
What year
now,
was this? 2000?
This would have been
8, 7?
2008, 2009.
So
2009.
So it definitely was
10 years ago.
It was no.
Even in Georgia now, it's still illegal.
Okay, all right. So
like, it's still illegal in Georgia. So
okay.
what he's doing, this man's passed on, right?
Okay.
Like, so what he was doing was completely illegal, right? But even you look at a lot of states now where it is legal, Denver, I mean Colorado, Oregon, Washington, California, right? A lot of the people who are successful, right, millionaires in this industry, definitely started from illegal black market shit, right? For what it's worth,
right?
At the time I was living, this was my junior year in college, I was living with a family friend who was involved with this dude who grew the weed, right? And this was the first time, like people who went to school with me can say for a fact that the cheese that I had at that time was some of like the best weed to this day that I've smoked, right?
And that's
what real live cheese. Like, that's what the dude was growing. The dude was growing some cheese that was fucking it.
That's some of the best shit you smoked before?
To this day, right? To this day. Cheese now is like, it's a regular strain. It's like when you talk about OGs or cookies or cheese is just like, it's like among those
that
elite strains, right?
Okay.
But that, at the time the dude was growing this shit, we was getting this shit from him. And, you know, I never got no trouble. Shit never went south for me, right? Which I'm blessed to say that, right? But that's what kind of introduced me to that aspect of it. It wasn't until like years later, just by chance, being in DC, where it became legal, that I actually started growing weed. And at that time, you know, I was a fucking college kid then. At this time, you know, I'm working, I have a career. I just smoke weed, right? Yeah. Like, I enjoy smoking weed. I smoke weed every day, which means I'm buying weed. However often I'm buying weed to smoke weed every day.
I remember you said you started growing because
you
wanted to smoke it.
That's my initial motivation was literally like,
to have some weed to smoke.
It's legal. I want to have some weed to smoke. I want to buy weed from people.
Which is smart,
right?
Which is smart. Cut your costs and triple it if you can.
There's a guy who, you know, like people always ask me, well, how'd you learn how to do it, right? And I don't know what to compare it to, right? What I kind of compare it most to is like being a barber, right? Like you go get a haircut, and everybody who has a good haircut has a different barber, right? And just because the barber cuts your hair well doesn't mean he can cut my hair well, right? But to learn how to be a barber ain't something you can like Google or watch a video of, right? Like, you gotta go fuck some people's heads up, and then you're a good barber.
Learn as you go.
Learn by you learn by practice. And so I started because I met this guy who actually lived out in California, was from California, grew out in California for a while, you know, had worked up in the mountains trimming weed, and you know, he had gone through that whole experience. And he moved to DC. We got introduced through a mutual friend, and for like a few years we would talk loosely about, oh, I want to grow, I want to grow. You know, there's more than just saying, oh, I want to grow weed and put a fucking light. And
you was telling him that.
I was telling him that, right? Like, I want to grow. But it really wasn't until I was able to like be in an opportunity where I could provide a space to do it, make it worthwhile, and I was able to do it, right? People think, oh, I just put a plant in a fucking pot
and it grow,
and put it in the closet and put it like it don't work like that, right? Like, not if you want to grow good shit. So even when I first started, and I kind of thought I knew what I was doing, my first harvest, if I could even call it that, was straight tea bag. You know, like
what that mean?
Like, if I imagine you broke down a tea bag and smoked it, like that's how bad that shit was, right? Like some garbage, like some garbage, right? Complete garbage. And I'm not.
What strain was it?
Oh man, it was called Double Purple Doja. Right? It was called Double Purple
Doja. Like some bullshit.
Nah, it was supposed to be good. And I think had I known what I was doing, I probably could have grown it better, right? But it was a learning experience. And so like I've always been like very obsessive with shit. Like if it's some shit I'm looking at, it could be a fucking book bag, some boots, some jeans.
You want to do your homework.
I do my homework, right? So I kind of took a step back from like I guess what the initial motivation was, and I was like, I really want to learn
Yeah.
the why of
Take
this
it
shit,
more
like, learn
serious.
how this shit work, right?
Uh-huh.
And I just started researching, like, if I'm gonna grow weed, like, what's the best possible way to grow weed? From there, I got into what I'm doing now, which is pretty much is called no-till gardening, right?
Okay.
You're trying to replicate nature by making soil, right, and allowing the soil to take care of the plant, right? You're not focusing so much on the plant, you're focusing on the soil. And from there, I just started building my own soil, right? Like I literally hand make the soil myself. I use a basic recipe, which is compost, peat moss, and lava rocks, right?
Sound
That's
very
it.
technical.
From there, all you're using is plain water, right? But you can grow anything in this soil. Tomatoes, whatever the fuck you want to grow, right? I'm choosing to grow weed in it, but you could grow anything in this soil.
Right.
So that was the first step. Like I want to make it like the healthiest way possible to consume it.
Okay.
Right. I don't just want to say, oh, I'm growing weed and that be that, right? But I want to make it the healthiest possible way to consume it. And then I learned like more about the genetics aspect of it and what breeders and genetics companies out there are actually like doing this shit the right way. And from there, it just kind of built, right? It just kind of built. I just kind of kept putting more into it, right? Shit just got better. I think I developed like more of a foundation with just people who support me, right? Who like the shit I grow. But the motivation, like I said, in and of itself was just, I wanted to smoke. Like that was it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
That was it.
So when you first got into it at this time, what year was this?
Shoot, November made 4 years.
Damn.
So this was like in
15, 16.
15.
So
16.
at that point in time, what was the law in DC as far as growing?
Same as it's been now, right? You could grow legally sort of at your residence, right? At your residence, you can grow legally. Naturally, there's a plant limit, Initiative 71, which is the law that sort of mandates how you can grow. There is a plant limit. You can have up to 2 people on a lease, right? And within the confines of that, you can grow up to 12 plants at a time.
How much does a plant bring you?
Now, what there's no limit on is how big you can grow that plant, right? So what I consider like the laws in DC right now, they're gray, right? They're not black, they're not white, they're gray, right? It's a gray area. That gray area says you can grow X amount of plants, right? But there's no limit on how big you can grow those plants, right?
Okay.
There's no limit on how much weed you can have in your residence as a result of that plant, right? You can walk around legally in DC with up to 2 ounces on your person.
Okay.
Right? Like on your person. 2 ounces of weed.
So anybody walking down 8th Street.
Anybody walking down anywhere in DC.
Just can't sell it.
No. You can't legally sell weed. But you can gift it. Right? I can say to you,
what's that?
I have this 10 grams of weed, right? Or no, I'm sorry. I can say to you, hi, I have this this cup, right? I'm selling these cups for $100.
Which would be the cost of the weed.
I'm selling you this cup for $100.
Yeah.
You buy that cup from me, and as a gift,
I'll give you this grass.
I give you this amount of weed.
Okay.
Right? It's stupid. Like on his face, it's stupid.
But it's all about terminology.
It's
basically.
the law.
Yeah.
Right?
The law requires the terminology.
The law. Right.
Okay.
An industry that's very popular in DC right now are your pop-ups, right?
Yeah.
All the little weed pop-ups, and I generally avoid them. I avoid them for a few reasons. One, like what I've learned in the few that I've gone to, there are not many growers there.
Okay.
Right? Like people who actually grow their own weed.
Maybe people that buy weed and sell it.
And who take pride in their craft, like I do. And I'm not just the only grower in DC. There's a lot of growers, right? That I respect. But what I've realized is those people aren't at those pop-ups. Yeah. Right? So and the pop-ups don't really encourage growers to be there, right?
Do they send representatives or they got?
Nah, I mean, no. It's literally, I mean, you can
niggas
be
who buy
anybody,
weed and
right?
flip it.
People who want to buy weed, sell some weed, make some money. You host a venue, you put it on Eventbrite or whatever, and that's how it goes.
And it's legal to do those in DC.
Yeah, it's legal to do it.
Okay.
Right? No, a lot of them have been raided because, of course, you have people who go overboard, go over the top, and you know, take shit to the next extreme.
Yeah.
So a lot of them have been like raided and police raids. Of course, a lot of them have been robbed, right? People steal shit off your table. And it just, to me, kind of fosters the crab in the bucket mentality that even though it's legal,
I can see that.
It's no different than like being on the fucking street corner selling weed to me, right? Like it's no different than that.
Right.
And like that ain't really why I got into it, right? Like in all things you do, you want to make money, right? You want it to be like worthwhile, but that wasn't my motivation, right? This isn't my sort of exclusive source of income, if that makes sense, right? For me, it's building a brand, building like a craft, right? Being respected by people who are in the industry, being respected by people who just observe what I do, right? Even if they don't smoke, like this shit ain't just some fruitless endeavor, but it also isn't
what feeds you.
What feeds me, right? So I try to avoid the situations where I feel like what I'm doing is no different than what someone would be doing on the streets. Right. And to me, that's what those pop-ups and shit are. So that's why I avoid them. That's why I avoid them.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. So when you base off your realms in both life, what's the benefits and the cons, the pros and cons of both? Like, I remember one time you was telling me about how people from Baltimore want a certain weed and it really be some bullshit. Like a lot of people want diesel, but it's like it's more shit out here than that.
Yeah. All right. I look at it through two lenses, right? Being from where I'm from, but also like sort of experiencing what I've experienced. I guess on the one hand, people who are from the streets that have always been drug dealers in their mind think like, who the fuck is he? And why should we listen to anything he has to say? This nigga don't know nothing. Right? This nigga ain't grow up experiencing certain shit. And that's fine, right? I don't pay that no mind.
Yeah.
And people who I went to school with are like, oh, well, Carl's graduated to go grow weed and sell drugs, and like what's wrong with him? And I look at it through the lens of like, I don't care what nobody think about what I do or how I do
As
it.
you should.
Right?
You should.
Like, and it's easy to say that, but like really, when I hear shit about people judging me one way or another, it just motivates me more.
Yeah.
Right? To like prove them wrong. I remember it was this girl who I went to school with, who I heard like through the grapevine. She had come to DC and she wanted to get some weed from me. And got some weed from me. And then I hear from a mutual friend some months later or some weeks later, and she had said to them like, I don't know what's wrong with Carl. He's just selling weed. He just graduated from school to sell weed. And I'm thinking to myself like, why the fuck you buy the weed from me? Like, what the fuck? Why? Like, you could have went and fucking bought the shit from somebody else. Yeah. Like, but to me, it was like, people don't, I think, like, what became important later was like realizing that this is an industry dominated by white people. I'm not nearly where I want to be, right, long term with the shit, but it was just fascinating to me that not more people appreciated that I was somebody black trying to like, I guess, being in this industry and do it the right way. And there were plenty of people who did, like, don't get me wrong, plenty of people who supported me and all that shit. But what I'm saying is, for the times that I didn't feel that, or I felt like motherfuckers were judging me, it was surprising. Like, it was genuinely surprising, because I'm like looking at it like, like this is a industry, one of the fastest growing industries like in this country, right, in the world.
They just wasn't looking at it as a legit business.
They weren't looking at it as a legit business, right? Like, I think people were just looking at it
for just what it is,
what
weed.
What is called like weed? What is he doing? Like,
that ain't right. But everybody who knows know that that's the way of the world right now. So you got on it at the perfect time, for real. Honestly, like, because that's when all the laws change. Eventually it's gonna be 100% legal all over. It's the same with prohibitions. It's like with liquor back in the day. Like, everything that was frowned on end up being legit, and if the government can make some money off something, they're going to do that shit.
And here's the difference right now, right? You have a lot of states that have made it legal rather, be it medicinally or recreationally. But a lot of states have made it legal. But until the federal government makes it legal, there's going to be a black and gray market. There just is, right? There just is.
Which means what?
Well, why do people go buy weed off the streets? For two reasons. It's either better than what they could buy legally, or it's cheaper than what they can buy legally.
Yeah.
Right? And oftentimes, the weed that you can go buy on the streets is better and cheaper than what you could go buy in a dispensary.
Okay.
Right? That's a simple reason.
Okay.
Then you got people like me who don't want their fucking names in some database saying they smoke weed and, you know, all the other technical aspects of it.
Yeah.
But until it's federally legal, you're going to have a black and gray market. So you compare it to prohibition,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't know how long it lasted, but I'm sure at the point in which, you know, the federal government made it legal,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure there were still people who were choosing to go to their little speakeasies and drink
and get it on the side.
and get it on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but at a point, like, there is no black market for liquor.
Yeah,
right.
Because you can get
And
it.
now you don't hear about fucking bootleggers.
Yeah.
People making hooch in their basement. Like nobody do that shit no more, right?
Yeah.
Nobody do that shit no more.
Yeah.
But even in California, where it's like legal, you still got plenty
People that selling on the streets and shit.
sell on the streets.
Yeah.
Plenty of illegal grows.
Because anytime
Plenty
you
of
get it for
you know what I'm
cheaper,
saying?
you
All
want
that
to do that.
shit, right? In Oregon, they had like a 1 million pound surplus of weed in 2018. That plenty of farmers had to like literally get their weed confiscated. Please don't be naive and think some of that shit wasn't sold on the side or whatever, right?
No,
so until it's federally illegal, it's going to inevitably promote the black market.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to promote the black market. And that's just people who choose to go buy weed from the weed dealer they've known for 10 years versus this new fucking pop-up or this new fucking weed shop that opened up down the street.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For somebody like me, I see the benefits in both. And I'm not like saying, oh yeah, I sell weed. But what I'm saying is, you want to turn your business legit, right? I have nothing against the fucking people that are opening up businesses and like making themselves a part of the industry. I guess what I do have a problem with is the lack of representation, like for the black people, right? For black people in particular.
Is it harder for black people?
I wouldn't. I mean, all things are harder for black people, right?
Facts,
what I'm saying, what makes this industry different is the visual evidence of how many black people have gone in jail for selling, smoking, possessing weed versus white people.
True.
And now how many white people are in this industry versus black people, right? There are only like 1 or 2 black-owned cannabis companies that have like a national footprint that I can think of.
What's that?
Viola's one.
Okay,
right?
that's Al Harrington.
Al Harrington's brand. Al Harrington's brand, right? Viola's one, and I'm not being. I can't even think of another one.
Okay.
I legit, off the top of my head, can't think of another one, right? And by national footprint, I mean like this is a brand that has dispensaries in multiple states where it is legal to have dispensaries, right? The weed that is being sold in those dispensaries is being cultivated by that dispensary. Like the whole operation is there.
Okay.
Right.
No gimmick.
And again, I don't know what to compare it to because I get questions sometimes that it's hard for me to answer it, and I don't want to be like a dickhead to people and they think like, oh, this motherfucker think.
Yeah.
Like, and that ain't what I'm going for. But people will ask me shit like, do you sell weed to dispensaries? And I'd be like, just thinking to myself, like, do you even think about how that shit works before you ask me this shit? Like,
right.
No, I'm not selling weed to somebody's dispensary.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm a motherfucker that grows in his spare bedroom.
Yeah.
Who has built a fucking brand behind doing that shit.
You work
right?
for yourself.
Like what I do for myself, by myself, right? I've had people say to me, well, I want to invest in you. I'm like, okay, cool. Do you have like a X by X square foot space that I could grow in?
Because that's the investment you need.
That's
you need
the investment
space to grow.
I need, right? And the response will be like, nah, I just figured like I could give you $1,000 and I'm like, you want me to fucking hustle for you? Like,
Right.
That's what you asking me for,
your
right?
Own, and you got your own shit.
Like, nah, motherfucker, like y'all, you know, and people see what you built, but they don't see the failure behind it, right? They don't see the sacrifice behind it. They just see like.
I can see people looking at it like the same way they would look at it if it was the street. Like on the street, you just buy a pound, flip it, sell it, and they probably belittle your process with that same image. Okay, I got you.
Another point of frustration I deal with.
Go ahead, let it out.
Anybody who's ever bought smoked soul weed knows, it is a scaffolded process. What I mean by that is, okay, cool. If I'm buying an eighth from you, and you want $50 for an eighth, right? You want $50 for an eighth. Well, if you're being nice to me, you might charge me $90 for a quarter because I'm getting 2/8, right? Yeah. But you'll tell somebody, oh, I want X amount for a pound. I want X amount for a pound, and then what they'll do is they'll try to quote you at an ounce for what they've calculated to be the lowest possible price for an ounce based on what you're willing to charge them for a pound. And that's not how it works. So what I'm very good at is telling the motherfucker, well, cool, if you get it for X amount from somebody else, then go see them. Yeah. Because this is my price. Right. Right? And I used to be, I guess, a little timid, dictating terms, dictating like, this is the work that I've put in to make this product the best possible product that I know it could be, right? I've dealt with a little bit of bullshit from like other people who grow, but for the most part, the people who I regard as some of the best, most respected growers in DC respect me, and in my mind at least, regard me the same way, right? But I've naturally dealt with some bullshit, right? People telling me, oh, well, it's a part of the game. I get it from X, I get it from this person for that. Yeah. Well, go get it from that person for that. But right? that's the benefit of growing your own shit. Yeah. You can dictate that, and you gotta take pride in it, right? You take pride in the work you put in, so you know what I mean. Don't be timid to ask what you want on the back end. Right. It took me a while to get to that point. Yeah. I wasn't always at that place where I was comfortable saying no. I know the work I put in. You gotta stick to what you. Yeah. Period. Yeah. So what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite weed to grow and favorite weed to smoke, or is that all in the same? In terms of growing, it's just a handful of breeders I gravitate toward, right? Okay. Seed junkies, exotic genetics, mass medical strains, mountain organics, and those are the breeders I generally follow. Second generation genetics, those are the breeders I generally follow, and I know if I spend $150 to $200 on a pack of seeds from them, it's going to be worth my investment, right? You get what you pay for in terms of the genetics. Is that expensive, $150 for seeds? That's premium. When you talk about prices, you get 10 little seeds in a pack, 10, 11 little seeds in a pack. Some breeders give you more or less, right? But in terms of the research I've done on what these companies have built, sort of genetics-wise, right? I compare the genetics to breeding dogs. Okay. Right. Because I was about to ask you what do you mean by genetics? So it's cannabis originated as a plant somewhere in the world, right? And over time, people have bred and crossbred and done all types of shit with these plants, right? And in my mind, there are really only a handful or two of really, really, really good sort of mainstream genetics companies. You got people all over this country growing great weed, breeding great strains. You don't necessarily have the stature that some of these other companies have, right? So a lot of the seeds that I'm growing right now are really from smaller companies, right? Smaller companies. One is from a woman, a black woman I know who grows in DC. Who's like been breeding her own strains for years. Right? What does that mean to breed? So that means she's producing the seeds. Yeah. So to breed a cannabis plant, right? You literally have a male plant and a female plant. Everything that people consume, everything that people smoke is from a female plant, right? Only female plant produces bud. Okay. Right? Male plants produce pollen. So if you were to say grow and flower a male plant versus a female plant, that female plant will produce bud and that male plant will produce pollen sacs. Right? And you need both. You need both to create new strains and to sort of continue strains, right? So the point at which a male and female enter flower, within the first 3 weeks, right, that male's pollen sacs are going to be not fully developed, but developed enough to spread his pollen. Okay. Right? And in spreading that pollen on the female, right, that female will grow bud. It'll look like bud, but that bud will be full of seed, right? It'll be full of seeds. And those seeds that are created is a new cross between those two strains, right? And that's how it works. So if you've ever smoked weed with seeds in it, it had seeds in it for like one of a few reasons. It was either like stressed out at some point, it's either like too much heat, too much light, right? One of those factors kind of played into it.
So we really not supposed to have, we not supposed to have sticks and seeds.
Not too many, right? No. Inevitably, like when you grow something, there's gonna be a few seeds that develop in it for one reason or another, right? But it shouldn't be sort of seeded throughout, right? If you smoking a plant and it's seeded throughout, that plant has like probably been pollinated by something by accident, which doesn't typically happen. But that's how that sort of process works.
So the weed. Oh, so the original question was, what your favorite to smoke and grow?
So my favorite to grow probably is from one of those breeders. To smoke, I'm definitely an indica person, right?
And indica is the one that keep you lit, or
more of a body high, right? More relaxing. I have nothing against either, right? There's sativas that I smoke. In my opinion, a lot of the sativa hybrids that I've grown have been sort of higher yielders than my indica hybrids, right? But I prefer the indicas. I'm an indica man. I like to be relaxed. When I'm smoking to chill. I don't need to be like racy and all ready for the day. Like I want to relax, I want to chill, drink my coffee or my whiskey and sit back and have a good time, right? Like that's what I go for when I smoke. But I've learned to grow for what people like. A lot of people like sativas. I got plenty of friends, plenty of people who I deal with who smoke every day before work. Every single day before work. I could not imagine it. As somebody who grows weed, smokes it all the time, loves it, I cannot smoke weed and go to work. I can't. It'll make me, I don't care what kind of strain it is, I don't care what the fuck
you done.
I'm paranoid. I'm thinking everybody know I'm high. That's just not, like.
I never understood that either.
Even though, and again, I grow and smoke weed. If I could smoke weed all day, I would smoke weed all day.
Just not at work.
I don't smoke weed before I go to work. I just can't do it.
You productive when you do stuff with weed, under weed?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that I don't smoke weed to be productive, so inevitably I feel like when I smoke weed, I'm gonna end up sitting back, chilling, relaxing. But when I first started smoking weed, and I'm being very serious about this, even as good of a student as I was when I first started smoking weed, I noticed it made me like far more studious, right? I think it matters where I sort of put myself. If I'm in the house and I'm smoking, it's probably not gonna be good for me, right?
Going to sleep.
Probably going to sleep. Yeah. But if I smoke and I go out and my mission is to like get X, Y, and Z done, it's definitely going to like give me that little boost.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy, but people get frustrated sometimes when I think people who smoke weed get defensive about how different weed is versus other things, but it really is different, right? I enjoy drinking, but the way drinking makes me feel, what drinking inspires me to do versus what weed inspires me to do, it's just totally different.
Yeah.
Right? When I'm smoking, I can be productive. I can be focused on things, right? It really is a passion, right? What I have learned is like working with the plants and being in the garden and shit like that. It is therapeutic, right? Like it really is. It really is. And I used to take for granted one of the companies that I buy weed from, that I buy seeds from, Mass Medical Strains. Me and this guy have kind of, talked back and forth and networked a bit. And like he is a full proponent of the spiritual aspects of growing.
Okay.
Right, and connecting with plants and all that stuff. And it could be easily like taken for granted, right? It could be easily taken for granted. But whenever I'm in the garden, like, and I'm working and I'm spending a few hours, I always make it a point to like play music. Yeah. It might not be classical music and shit that people say is good for the plants, but I always make it a point to play music, right? And just it's you put a lot of time into it. Yeah. Right? You put a lot of time into it. There's anywhere from 3 to 4 months, right? Sometimes longer between.
As far as growing, it takes 3 to 4 months.
As far as growing and like actually seeing a tangible result in the end.
Before you get to that, how long did it take you to learn how to grow?
Shoot, November made 4 years. I would comfortably say it took me almost 2 years before I could say I knew what I was really doing.
Okay.
Right, before I knew what I was really doing.
That's when you perfected it.
Before I could like look at a plant and I see that something's going on with the plant, and I just know this is what I need to do.
Okay.
Right, like this is what I need to do to get this plant back right.
Okay.
And this is what I need to do to like see this process through. Right, so it took time. It took time.
Yeah, and it's very tedious, right?
It's a very tedious process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very tedious process, but it's an enjoyable process.
Right.
It's an enjoyable process.
Gotta have patience.
It taught me patience. It taught me patience. Oh, I'm trying to have that patience translate into other sort of aspects of life, right? But it definitely taught me patience.
You know what
you have to be to do it right. You have to be patient, right? And
I would say that's a part of trial and error when you learn how to grow. Too.
Absolutely.
You try to rush it, you read, then eventually you're like, shit, I'm spending money on this. I gotta relax.
I'm putting way too much time and money into this.
To not be patient.
To not be patient enough for it to be right in the end.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And to that end, what a lot of people do wrong is you harvest a plant too early. Right? It may look done, the buzz may look developed, but you actually have to study what your trichomes look like under a microscope. Okay. Right. So I have like a USB powered microscope that I can plug up to my computer, open up my camera that's on my computer. Yeah. Right. And on the full computer, what I always do is I'll take a little mobile table I got and I'll set it next to the bed that I'm looking at, and I'll try to look. Literally, you got to put the microscope up against the plant. Mm-hmm. And clearly, it's one thing to be looking through the microscope with your eye versus being able to see it on a whole computer monitor. And you have to actually study what the trichomes look like. Some real scientific shit. And you can Google this shit. Like, this ain't just me talking, right? You could Google this shit and it'll show you. If your trichomes are clear, right? Your bud may look done, but if your trichomes are clear, it's not ready yet, right? Okay. Your trichome should be cloudy, it's weird. I don't know what else to compare.
What is a trichome though?
The little fucking like mushrooms. That
if
you ever see a very macro, right? If you ever see a very macro level image of a cannabis plant, you always see the trichomes. Okay. Right? And those are those little mushroom like things that you see poking up off of. They're everywhere, right? Like everywhere, all over the plant. Okay. Right. And when you look at your trichomes should be cloudy to amber. Right, cloudy to amber. Cloudy is literally they look cloudy. They look like little clouds, little sperm cells, right? It's just strange, right? Yeah. And the amber ones that sort of have a little bit of brown in them, right? So I always go for like cloudy to amber. I want cloudy with just a trace amount of amber starting to develop. Okay. Right? But I really, for the most part, I don't want to see any clear trichomes, right? And when you harvest your weed at that point, it's considered like optimal. That's the best time to harvest. Okay. Right? If you harvest it too early, no matter what kind of strain it is, it's probably going to give you that paranoid, head racy, kind of like spaced out feel. Right? If you harvest it too late, when it's completely amber, no matter what kind of strain it is, it's going to give you that couch lock, I want to go to sleep feel. Okay. Right? When you harvest it at the point at which the vast majority of the trichomes are cloudy, that means that whatever that strain was bred and intended to be, effect-wise, it will be. Okay. Right? What I also learned in that time, where a lot of grows go wrong, is you could grow the weed as perfect as you want to. You can do everything I just explained, and it could be the perfect amount of weed and perfect bud when you cut it down. But if you don't dry, right? If you don't dry your weed under the right conditions, it won't matter. Okay. Right? What I've learned to do, working with AC units, humidifiers, dehumidifiers, right? All the things you need to kind of keep the environment as optimal as possible. You want to dry your weed at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, right? With 60% humidity. Don't get me to lying about what the science is behind that. But all the big commercial growers out here that have the reputations I'm trying to get, the Jungle Boys and all those guys, that's how they do their shit, right? And all the people who know what they're doing, that's how you do that shit. 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 60% humidity. This is shit I fucked up, right?
Yeah.
A year and a half before I got right that I'm just telling people for free right now.
Okay.
You want to dry your weed the right way, right? And again, none of this shit is it a shortcut. So even what people do wrong at the end is cool. They try to dry the weed really fast and like put it in the oven and like, do all types of wild shit.
That fucks it up.
You could turn what could have been some of the best weed anybody ever smoked into some of the worst weed anybody ever smoked.
It's still sell.
I mean, you could sell anything to anybody willing to buy it, right? But would I buy it? Absolutely not, right? Okay. Absolutely not. So you got to dry and cure it the right way. 2 weeks, 14 days, 14 straight days of dry. No cut corners. Not a day earlier, not a day later. 14 straight days of drying, right? At 60 degrees Fahrenheit and 60% humidity. From there, get everything chopped down, get everything trimmed up. I trim everything by hand. And the best way to store your weed is in glass jars. Glass jars in a cool, dark place. Okay. Right? There's a company that actually recently got what is essentially for weed a humidor, right? It's called a curador. It's a curing refrigerator. Same way if you smoke cigars, you would buy a humidor. Or drink wine, you get a wine refrigerator, right? It's a curador that keeps those jars at the optimal humidity and temperature that you want. Okay. Right? Weed could last in jars for well over a year if stored in the right environment. Okay. Right? What people don't realize is every time you touch it, every time you open and close a jar, right? Especially if you put your weed in plastic, that's the easiest way to like degrade it.
So right? Like the rubber made bins and all that ain't good? No. Oh no. Shit. Strictly jars.
Glass jars is the best way to store your weed. Glass jars. It's the best.
No rubber maze, no
nothing.
What else niggas put them in? What about vacuum seal?
Nothing. No, that is arguably the worst way.
For real?
Right? That plastic vacuum seal in it. Right? You gotta think, those little trichomes that I'm talking about, they're sensitive. Right? If you can see them under a microscope, that means every time something touches it, you're rubbing those trichomes off. Okay. Right? So when your weed, it's the reason why, even in glass jars, right? Like, even in glass jars, you'll notice over time the weed, you'll have more shake when you get ready to get rid of that jar than when you first put the weed in, right? Because even in the glass jars, the weed's just breaking down. You'll notice the whole side of the jar is sticky. It's from the shit rubbing up against it, right? But in plastic, especially when you vacuum seal it, it degrades your weed way quicker than anywhere else. Like it's a reason why it's more money really in genetics and in all these other little third-party products, the curadors, the scissors, the tints, the lights, all the other shit you need to grow weed than in the weed itself. Right, it's because all that shit helps you preserve the end product. You know what I'm saying?
So how much do you have to invest to successfully pull this off? And I'm saying this without the stuff you just named, like those, because that's not a necessity, like the refrigerator you just mentioned. But the necessities of the process, how much do you think total you had to put into it?
I think it depends on what your end goal is. Okay. Right, like if your end goal is just to grow your own little personal stash of weed. Let me put it like this. I don't want to put a number on that, right? Because that depends. That totally depends on what your motivation and your resources are. I think anybody that's motivated enough with any budget could like do whatever they want in this industry, right? Like not all these breeders I'm talking about come from money. These are just guys who like took the time to like perfect the craft and got lucky, right? Like not all of them are silver spoon fed people, right? Like some of these guys don't work with a lot of resources, but they've developed the brand and the following that I'm trying to develop, right? So for me, it's just about how much genuine effort, like genuine time you're willing to put into learning the craft versus just looking at it like, oh, it's weed. Let me grow it. Let me make some money, right? Like there are plenty of people doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that either, right? Like, do whatever motivates you. But I guess in terms of what I pulled off, I don't know what I've pulled off yet, because I haven't really accomplished what I want to accomplish like in doing it yet. I'm blessed and I'm happy that like people fuck with what I'm doing and like what I'm doing and support it. Um, but what I'm trying to really transition into next is the genetics aspect of it. I realize on one hand, like that's where the real money is, right? The people who are creating these strains, right? Not just the people who are growing these strains.
Okay.
Right.
You want to be the one to put that seed together.
Yeah, like there's some really good breeders out here who, no matter what they create, people gonna fuck with it. People gonna buy it the day it drops, because they know.
Would you say
these guys know what they're doing?
Would you say they the money makers of the
Absolutely,
industry?
absolutely, and of course, in terms of the growing aspect of it, the visual aspect of it, yes. Right?
Okay.
Like your breeders, your reputable breeders are the ones like making the money for real.
Okay.
Right. Like really making the money.
Okay.
Exotic genetics. I'll use him as an example. Some guy named Mike who has like really established himself in the industry.
Okay.
Right. Whenever he has a drop, I don't care what the name of the strains are. If I even if I've never heard of it,
it's gonna sell.
I have no doubt in my mind I'm gonna learn something that day. Right.
Okay.
Like just the fact that Mike is releasing this strain.
It's some good shit.
It's some good shit. Okay. I don't gotta question that.
Okay.
Right? Same thing when you talk about seed junkies, right? Mass medical strains,
the
second
name
generation
for the brand.
Like these guys, you don't even have to question if they know what they're talking about.
You know it's A1.
Right? So I'm trying to establish my genetics, my company, right? Working with some of those big names that people don't have to question the validity of what it is I've bred with. But also like some of the smaller growers who I know, right, who are in situations just like mine, right, who I know are growing shit just as good as those big names without that platform.
Okay.
Right. So for me, it's like I like to kind of have the best of both worlds. So I realize every other harvest, I'll run a lot of big name genetics, right, and then I'll run genetics from like some smaller, lesser known breeders who are producing shit that is just as good as these big name people, right? Because I want people to support me, right? I want people to continue to support me, right? People supported me when they didn't have to, and I started from
the bottom of
nothing, right? And I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I feel like you got to give that support to get it.
So your ultimate goal is to grow your own, to have your own seeds.
Yeah, that's right now, you know, and hopefully when I accomplish that, there's another goal to set, right? But right now, I feel like I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish in terms of my knowledge growing, which never stops. But I know enough at this point, but I'm ready to transition into the breeding realm.
Yeah.
Right. And from there, you transition into something else. You never try to stop learning about either thing. But yeah, that's sort of my next step.
Okay.
Right. That's my next step, getting into the breeding aspect of it. Yep.
So if you was to meet somebody on the street that had curiosity of smoking, from a business and from your own experience, what would you tell that person? Like I want to smoke, but why should I? Like I don't think it's good. My job, this and that. I don't want that stigma.
Yeah.
What would you tell that person?
In terms of smoking, in terms of actually smoking weed, like honestly, I leave that up to people. Like I don't want to give nobody advice on smoking weed. Right?
Okay.
If you want to smoke weed, smoke weed. If you don't. If you feel guilty about it, go talk to somebody else. Like I ain't here to be a counselor. Right? That ain't my intention at all. But if it's somebody who wants to grow, who wants to get into the industry, like just being real, if you don't have no money, if you're not willing to put no money up, like
don't do it.
Don't waste my time at least, right? Yeah. Like go waste somebody else's time. And I don't mean like a whole lot of money, but I mean at least the willingness to like do this shit the right way, right?
What would you say is the base to start? How much you need?
Lights, genetics, soil, right? I don't know how to grow any way outside of organic, no-till soil. Okay. So if you want to grow hydroponically and buy like salt-based chemicals,
and this is strictly indoor
or outdoor,
okay,
right? But you know, indoor or outdoor is where I grow, and how I grow is applicable, right?
Okay.
But you know, I don't know nothing else except how to make soil and grow in soil. Right? I swear by that. The genetics, you get what you pay for, right? It'd be hard to name every reputable and quality genetics company, but there are a lot of them, and you just gotta take the time to do your research, right? Like we're kind of lucky right now with Instagram, because Instagram is just
a marketplace for real.
It's a repository of information if you use it the right way.
Yeah.
Right. So I spend a lot of time on Instagram, literally searching through all these different breeders and companies and reading comments. I read comments. Like I read what people are
good
talking
information.
about. It's just it's a repository of information for growing if you use it the right way.
Okay.
Right. And what I've also learned in growing is that a lot of people are willing to share information with you. Right. They are. If you ask the right people the right questions, though it is a competitive sort of marketplace, people are very outgoing, which was a little surprising as well. Like people aren't generally handcuffing information. Right? They'll share things with you.
The hippie life.
Because this person lives in Oregon and you live in Washington D.C., like you're no competition to them.
Weed
right?
brings people together.
Yeah, and it does.
Yeah.
Like, it really does. And beyond that, you know, your lights, right? It's no different than anything else. Like you get what you pay for. So I'm not saying go just because it costs $1,700 buy a light, but there are companies like, you know, Lux Lighting where I buy my lights, Fluence Bioengineering, Timber Grow Lights, you know, other companies like that where you know their lights are going to be of a certain quality versus that one that you found on Amazon, called $150, right? So if you want to do it the right way, you gotta be me, right? You could waste almost 2 years of trying to fucking cut corners and buying the cheap ass lights. And
that's what you did.
Using the bagged soil and buying the genetics that this dude wanted you to buy just because it has a certain name attached to it.
And that stunts your growth.
Well, I just didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
Right? I just didn't know what I was doing.
So you didn't intentionally say, let me try the cheapest route.
No.
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
just trying
I
everything.
wish I had waited maybe 6 months to save a little more money to
then
buy the shit that was worth buying to do it the right way. But that trial and error, you know, has given me this perspective, right? If you want to do it the right way, be willing to spend a little bit of money, and just be willing to like do your homework and be willing to fail, right? Like you could also
anything.
You could, in hindsight, you could have had all the resources in the world. You could have bought the best lights and the best soil and the best genetics, and still not really have known what you were doing.
Right.
Right. So it is a real sort of trial by error type of craft, if I could call it that. Right. That, like, yeah, you're gonna fail a little bit before you get it right, and that's with anything. That's with anything.
Pretty much.
Anything.
It's all the test of the process is just going to determine if you really want this.
That's with anything.
So my next question was we are stoned before we did this too. But my next question was as far as when you how do you smoke? What is your preference?
I like backwoods.
Backwoods, okay.
Exclusively, almost.
Okay.
I'll occasionally like smoke out of a vape or something, but no, I like backwoods. I just do. I don't know why. I just do.
What about papers? Nah.
I mean backwoods.
They to me, I'm not in for the people who don't know. I smoke, but I don't smoke often. I smoke when it's around. I smoke when I feel like it. I smoke certain occasions, but Carl, as he said, he smokes every day, so he's a real smoker. I might fake like I am, but I don't smoke that much. But
yeah,
I know smoking papers for me, they hit harder, but they burn a lot quicker. But I think you can attest to this too. You don't go for this route because you do what you do because you want. But some people smoke it because it's more cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah,
I hear that. But how do people say that? But how do you fucking know, right? Like, that's what kind of baffles my mind. And
True.
Look, it's already weed, right? I'm already fucking burning something in my lungs. So like, fuck how, I'm gonna enjoy this shit the way I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, as you should.
But what I tell people, if it's your weed, you roll it however you want to roll it. When it's mine, you're gonna dictate how it's being rolled, right? So people will look at me like I'm crazy, but if I'm with you and you want to roll the paper, cool. I'll wait to smoke later. Like, I'm good. I don't even want to hit it, honestly. You just want to. So I don't even get into those
I
little
feel
debates, right? Like,
as you should. You
I
just do what you do.
I have graduated to a certain place where
Yeah.
it's like, I'm good. Trust
Right.
me. Like, I'm
You
straight.
smoke how you
I'm
want
gonna
to
smoke how I want to smoke. Yeah, no, but like, yeah, backwoods.
How do you
Good.
feel? How do you feel about the conferences and the weed? What's the weed event that's coming up? You told me to go to.
The National Cannabis Festival.
So how do you feel about the conferences?
Nah,
and
it's
shit
cool,
like that?
man. It's cool. I think you need more black representation there. I'm gonna keep saying that.
Okay.
But those type of things are cool. Like those type of things are pushing this industry forward.
Right.
Right. I think you still, there needs to be more of an emphasis on black companies being represented, primarily because of the fact that, so long as these things are developing and there's still black people sitting in jail, federal and state prison, for having sold weed in states where weed is now recreationally legal.
They should be free.
It should be free, one, but like I love when people want to grow. Right?
Okay.
I have I met other people who want to grow. Like I would love to teach someone what I was taught.
Okay.
Right? Who
You must teach what's taught.
Who's willing to like put as much energy into it as I'm trying to put into it, because I'm trying to build. Right? And again, I didn't start this thing with endless resources. I started this thing with very, very, very limited resources. And so in trying to build, the only way I can build is either through resources of my own or collectively, right? But I'm still one man, right? There's a very physical aspect involved in making soil and taking care of plants and watering plants and doing all this shit, right? And I still want to like build with people. That's my biggest focus right now, like finding partners.
So anybody hearing this, they can reach out and wait for
anybody, right? Like naturally, I'm guarded, I'm cautious, right? I feel like I've put a lot of energy and effort and sacrifice into something.
But you open.
But I'm certainly like open to talking and building with people.
And even if they want to get some information, some knowledge.
It might cost them a little something, but
right. As it should.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about it wasn't how you feel. Have you ever got any static with the law doing this at all?
Never once.
Okay.
Never once.
So as long as the state's laws like say what they say, if let's hypothetically, if something would happen, like say if a police come to your house, your neighbor had a complaint, they came and they see a tent and they see some weed, how do you handle that?
I mean, just being where I'm from, I move cautious, right?
Right.
So, I've always just maintained my shit within the confines of what's legal, so that if anything ever does present itself as an issue, I don't have anything to hide.
Okay.
Right. So I move with a certain level of caution, because you never know, if someone thinks you have more than you have, and wants to take it from you, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, within the legal aspect of it, I'm less worried about it.
Okay.
Because I know I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, but I think I asked that because I think initially, like, especially if you're not from DC or you're not in the world of growing.
Oh, it
they
shocks
might
you
be
a little
like,
bit.
they might be like cautious. Say, like I said, a situation like I said, some neighbor coming to police, you might be cautious, like, oh, well, but in all reality, you shouldn't worry. If it's legal in the state, you're good. They don't even, plain and simple.
Yep.
Okay. So, lastly, out of all of the states that you've been in, the places out of the states, where have you ever smoked your best weed? Where has it came from?
Man, that's hard to say. I mean, honestly, that's hard to say. I smoked some good weed everywhere, right? I smoked some good weed everywhere, and I think everywhere you got like good weed. And it ain't even a cliche thing, but I can't say that the weed I smoked in Colorado or Oregon or California was any better than the weed I smoked on the streets in Atlanta, or Florida, or here, right? What I will say with confidence, having been different places in the world, having been to Amsterdam, like where you can find weed, like the best weed I've found, and I believe, especially in the grow scene, the best genetics are definitely like right here in the States.
Okay.
Right? And there are enough places where if you are like a real live weed connoisseur, like even in Michigan, weed is recreationally legal now, right?
Okay.
There are dispensaries, recreational dispensaries that you can walk into. Massachusetts, Colorado, Oregon, right? I was in Portland not too long ago. It was a weed shop, a dispensary called Oregon's Finest, literally 2 blocks down from my hotel, that I walked in and smoked some of the best weed I had smoked all year, just buying it out the shop, right? So it's definitely a lot of places here that have some of the best weed you can find. Yeah.
So in closing, you got a lot of answers about the industry, about the experience of growing, the process of growing, and some knowledge about Charm City Organics and how it's taking off and the plans for the future. So if you could let everybody know how they can get in contact, if they can get in contact, and are they able to, do business?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always down to talk to people about doing business. My Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me, at Charm City Organics. Follow me, send me a DM. I do respond. I don't have that many followers. And above just like the smoking of weed, I'm always down to just talk to people about this industry, what I learned, what I want to do. Yeah, if you're genuine and you want to connect, please reach out.
All right. And Baltimore native, locally in DC at the moment. So, if you're in DC, shout them a holler. If you're looking for something, maybe he can point you in the right direction. So with that being said, we out. We Need Answers podcast. Till next time. Oh, and I meant to say this from the top. This is the day after the Ravens took that L, but next year, so the city kind of depressed right now, but we good. We be back on top next year. We Need Answers. We out.
All right.